everybody, SonGoshuaku here, and welcome to this podcast discussion for Dragon Ball, the 4 main couples which we'll be ranking right now. Joining me, Linux.
What's going on, guys?
Cat.
Hi, guys.
Rebecca Rose Gold.
Hello, everybody.
Let's get right into it. So, we all basically did a combined 4 votes to decide and rank the 4 main Dragon Ball couples. So, it is by unanimous decision coming in at number 4, Son Goku and Chichi. And I find this interesting because despite the fact that we have a semi-hardcore Dragon Ball fan here, casual Dragon Ball fan here, and 2 hardcore Dragon Ball fans, we all 4 agree that they are our least favorite couple. So, start us off, Kat. What do you got to say about Goku and Chichi?
Okay.
I'll get the shovel.
So, Goku and Chichi, they get a lot of hate. Now, I can understand why. It's because, you know, of all the couples in the Dragon Ball universe, they have the worst interactions with each other, I'll admit, you know, like, but there's a reason that Goku loves Chichi and vice versa. I really love, you know, even though it's anime only, I'm going to take it to the Cell Saga, right? When Goku wakes up from his heart attack and him and Chi-Chi, you know, they reconvene. The way that you see that they love each other, that's really cute. And a lot of people will argue, oh, that's anime only. That's not in the manga. It doesn't count. I personally love it. I understand that Chi-Chi's a tiger mom. Let's break down Chi-Chi for just a second here. So Chi-Chi's crazy, but she has a reason to be. Like from the time she's a little girl, she's seeing all these crazy things happen. You know, her son almost dies multiple times. Her husband does die multiple times. She just wants to raise a nice, quiet family, live in the hills, not worry about much. And she can't help that Goku doesn't have a job. She can't help that Goku has to save the world. So we would all have a little PTSD. Let's be honest. But for the most part, she's supportive. She trains Goten. You know, I really love, I love a good couple. And while I love Goku and Chi-Chi, I'm saving all my chutzpah for my number 1, which we'll get to later. But I just think that people... Oh, no, I'm really sorry. Majin Buu came along again.
Yeah, Majin Buu, get out of this.
He's so awful. He's not a good person. But Goku and Chi-Chi, like I said, they get a lot of flack, but they have good moments. Anime only, manga only. They're not awful. Chi-Chi just gets a bad rep because she's a different type of mother than like 18 or Bulma, who Bulma's spunky. She's going to go out there and do what she wants to do. 18's a fighter. Chi-Chi's kind of a fighter. Kind of. She's good, but she really just wants to be a good family, wholesome mom. She can't help her family, you know? But she loves them. She was willing to put up with Goku despite him being broke. How many people are going to do that now? That's the real question. You guys know Goku has not worked a job, and she's still like, you know what? I'll cook for you. I'll raise your children even when you're not around. Ooh, she deserves some props. She gets too much hate. She gets way too much hate.
I can see that.
Thank you, Kat. I appreciate it. And I wanted to start off with Kat because she was going to bring some of the positivity. I've got some positivity to bring. But first, let's go ahead and get those shovels out and start the burial. All right, Rebecca Rose Gold, you told me ahead of time you're here to bury them. In fact, I was like, I got some positive and I'm not going to bury them. And you were like, oh, but I will. Well, now is your time.
Okay. I mean, just hearing what she had to say, it's not about them individually. It's not like Goku, he's like this and this is his personality. And Chi-Chi, you know, she tries to be a good mom, all this stuff. How are they as a couple? It's really bad. And what I feel like reminded me of it, if you guys have been playing Dragon Ball Z Kakarot at all, I kind of forgot about a lot of their dynamic as a relationship. And I was reminded of it as I was playing the game where she's just like, well, Gohan has to study. And he's like, yeah, but Chi-Chi, like, we're going to go. And she's like, well, okay. Like, there's no, like, dynamic as a parent or, like, a relationship. You'd be like, oh, can we talk about this first? Let's both come to a conclusion that works well for us. And he's just like, no, I'm going to do what I want. And she's like, well, I guess, you know, it's Goku. You can't stop him. He is how he is. Like, I feel like as a couple, they don't communicate well. Goku just kind of does what she wants. And then on the other spectrum, Chi-Chi just does what she wants because she's like, well, no, he's going to be a scholar and he's going to do this. And she's like, oh, like Goku's like, well, I don't think that's important. Like, so I feel like they're never on the same wavelength. And just, I mean, even if you really think about how they first got together, it was like, she's like, you said you'd marry me. And he's like, oh, I did? Well, what's marriage? Oh, okay, well, like, let's get together then, I guess. Like, so, but that being said, I totally see that she does love him. Like, when he died, obviously she cared. But I remember, was it during the Namek where, like, Gohan and Goku were both hurt or something? And she was like, my little Gohan, my precious Gohan. She didn't even care about Goku in that moment. Like, and I guess it's understandable as a mother, you're looking towards your son first. But just when I saw that, I'm just like, oh, you guys are just, you're a hard couple to watch. Like, I can't like root for it. Like, oh, they're so cute. You know how like other couples, you see like fluff between them and you're like, oh, like I don't care at all when it comes to Chi-Chi and Goku. And that's just my opinion on that. So interested to see what you guys think.
All right. I actually kind of felt that was not as harsh. I thought you were gonna destroy them.
I don't mean like she's the worst. It doesn't, like, separately they're fine characters. It's together they're awful. It's awful.
but yeah, everything you said, that was very well said. Anytime this man has a chance to bury Goku,
oh boy,
I already know it. So, you know, we haven't talked. I know you respect Goku for the work ethic, but the character you're down on. So here's your chance. Let's hear what you think about the relationship, the marriage of Goku and Chi-Chi. Linux.
Man, like, just thinking about the relationship and even hearing the opinions, the only thing I can really say, thank the heavens for Piccolo. It's funny, actually.
The surrogate dad.
Let's just talk about the parental aspect of Goku and Chi-Chi. This goes back to the lack of communication. Like, neither one of them ever really talked to Gohan. Like, ever. I think Goku has like a little heart-to-heart when they're training in the hyperbolic time chamber. But like, as far as like getting to actually know Gohan, the only one who ever does that is Piccolo. Chi-Chi's like the super stereotypical overbearing mom who wants to control Gohan. She doesn't want him to end up like his dad. Goku just kind of wants him to follow in his footsteps and be a warrior, but that's just natural like blood of a Saiyan with him. And
stop it, Majin Buu.
Piccolo,
I saw that. I was like,
yeah, like Piccolo is like the only one that really does get to know him and like nurture him. And if you really think about it, how Gohan acts, a lot of, like, prime example, he hung out with his dad all through the hyperbolic time chamber. What did he do immediately after? When Goku got his clothes fixed, he literally went to Piccolo and was like, can you make me a uniform like yours? Aww. He didn't even want, like, I always look at that scene because, like, him and Goku literally went in dressed the same, and the very first thing he did when he get out, hey, Piccolo, can I get an outfit like yours? You know?
I want to be like you.
Yeah, like, it really, really just shows kind of, like, the disconnect. So if we're talking about them as a couple, like, as far as parents, like, they kind of, like, completely screwed that one. And even just as a couple in general, like, Goku really is selfish in a lot of ways. Like, he's really kind of like a man-child when it comes to fighting. So if he doesn't get the chance to do it, he throws a fit. He doesn't even, like, listen to Chi-Chi, or he tries to scheme his way around it versus, like, really hearing her concerns about it. So it's just, like, the communication with that couple is completely shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely on that.
All right, well, definitely some good points, but I will say, Lennox, you may have forgotten at the Buu saga when, you know, he's like, Kibito, I want to fight in the same outfit as my dad. You forgot about that moment. So he does do that towards the later.
I'm not giving him that. I'm not giving him that.
I told you, I know, he tries to bury Goku anytime he can, but I thought everybody brought up fantastic points, but I do side a lot with what Kat was saying, because when you look at Goku and Chi-Chi, I think so many times a lot of people in the world who look at Dragon Ball, they look at basically what goes on for what we see on screen or reading the manga, but think about what went on in those 5-year time skips from the end of Dragon Ball into DBZ. Think about what happened in those 3-year time skips when they were preparing for the Jinzuko Negan, aka androids. Think about what happens in 7-year time skip when she first hears Goku's coming back. She's excited because she gets to introduce Goten to his father for the first time, and then she's concern is, does she look too old and everything? So there's just these things about Goku that you could tell she really loves, and I agree, she has a lot of patience. And at the end of the day, you know, like so many fans, I used to complain about Chi-Chi early on, like, oh my gosh, like, you have to save the world in order for Gohan to become a scholar. But at the end of DBZ, I'm like, you know, at the end of the day, she's just a mother who wanted the best for her son, and that's something that basically is what Chi-Chi's all fighting over. And that's something about the relationship. There's no abuse in their relationship from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint. More actually, when I think about it, there are a couple of times in Dragon Ball Super where Chi-Chi does get physical with Goku to prove her point, but how serious can we take it given that we know how truly strong Son Goku is in Dragon Ball Super? Obviously, he is allowing her to do so, but my main point here is anytime she's ever yelled at Goku is just because she wants things. She wants Goku to have a job to help provide for the family. She wants Gohan to have a good education. Now, I'm not saying I agree about her certain ideals that she had and the way she went about those things, but there is some lovingness in that family, and you see a lot during the 9-day wait for the Cell games. So it's just between those two things. I think Goku and Chi-Chi's not the most horrible couple. You hear so many times people talk about Goku's the worst father ever, they're the worst couple ever, and I'm like, I don't think it's that bad. There's some love there. It's just, I think there is some disagreements that we get there. The thing is, at the end of the day, Goku, he is selfish, and I agree with that part, because actually one of the biggest things of reason why I did put them at number 4 is because at the end of Dragon Ball Z, that's just a BS move. Goku leaving the tournament to go train Oob for whatever reason. I don't know why he can't just treat it like a 9-to-5 job. Use the instantaneous movement, train Oob all day and come home and be with his wife. Especially with all the added material we got from Dragon Ball Super. I don't see why. We now know he has Migate no Gokui, the Ultra Instinct. Why can't Goku just even... How fast are these guys at this point now? But at that point, obviously, Toriyama was probably just ready to hang it up with Dragon Ball, working on it from the 80s up to 95, but stuff like that. There's just things compared to the other couples that we're going to talk about. Goku, there's just certain family values that Goku doesn't really fully understand, and that's one of the reasons I had to put him at my least favorite. I think clearly, honestly, Gohan and Gohan, just period, basically has really exceeded his parents, honestly, in that department, and we'll get more to that later. But that's my final take on Goku and Chi-Chi. They're a couple that they do have that love for each other, and I feel like their motives are right, but it's just not done the same way. But I just don't think they're the worst thing ever.
But let me ask you this, though. What makes you think that Goku has, like, such love for Chi-Chi? Because everyone says that, but I see it the other way around. Chi-Chi's like, oh my gosh, Goku, and she cooks for him all this stuff. Like, she still supports him. How does he love her back? Like, in what way do you see? Because
you see in Dragon Ball, anytime they mess Goku's family or Earth is at harm's way, Goku goes all out to protect his family. He died twice in the battle with Raditz Cell. You know, what did he tell Gohan? You know, I'm proud of you. Take good care of your mother. Like, he does love them enough when he knows it comes down to life or death. Yeah, he has shown in the series that he loves them. It's just those family values he doesn't have a good understanding, because as Lennox mentioned, Goku is designed by Toriyama to be like a man-child. I compare Goku kind of like the male lion. And if you look at the way lions are, the male lions, they basically don't do all the work. It's the lioness that do all the work. But if you come on their territory, that male lion is going to come and rip you to shred and defend its pride. That's what I consider Goku. There's things about him as a family man that's obviously not going to settle right with us. But let Cell, Boo, or any other villain threaten the planet, he is there to defend his family. And that's the type of love that I'm meaning for Goku. Like, he does love them in that sense.
He gives everybody that type of love, though.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I'm like, but he treats everyone on that level. So it's not that you're my wife, I care for you. It's like, you're a person on this planet, you know, and I'm going to defend the planet and you.
Goku's
not
like,
perfect.
It doesn't...
Oh, I can't.
But you know,
when we get to the couple,
Goku's not perfect. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying Goku is perfect, let alone the greatest spouse. I'm just saying that while I understand why a lot of the fan base feels that Goku is a horrible husband, I personally don't feel the same, because I feel someone who willingly abuses their spouse, whether it be mentally or physically or even cheats on their spouse and never tries to make amends all fits the category much better of horrible spouse, which those are all things Goku has never done to Chi-Chi. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for Goku, but one has to understand about his character, like Lennox says, he has a man-child mentality. Remember, Goku was raised in the woods and didn't have a proper upbringing in society, which largely led to him not having proper understanding of family values, like other characters in the series or us, the audience, in reality. So going back to your question, Rebecca Rose Gold, despite the man-child mentality where Goku should know better, but he doesn't, I do feel that he loves Chi-Chi, but in his own weird way. But it's because Chi-Chi has a full understanding of Goku and his shortcomings, she gives that love back to him. So it all comes down to a combination of Goku's doing things not out of spite, but out of not knowing better, even though he should have matured to know better by the end of the series. At the end of the day, I feel Goku's not this despicable, monstrous husband. There's a lot worser spouses out there. Goku himself just doesn't fully have it up there all the way because he's so focused on his fighting. That's all I'm saying. I don't think he's the
When we
worst,
get to the couple, I'm gonna bookmark this moment because there is a defining factor in what Goku does and what another individual does.
But hey,
I think I know. I think I know, and I think that's what I was thinking of when I said it. Where I'm like,
but hey, this is a good conversation.
You know.
I'm glad we're getting so many opinions here. But let's move on to the couple that came in at number 3. Now, number 3 and 2, it was really divided among our voting, and as a result, I had to take to my social media, and it was still almost neck and neck with that one. But coming in at number 3, just by barely, we have Krillin and Hachigo, aka Krillin, and number 18. So I am going to start off with the man who voted for them at number 1 in our voting, and that is you, Lennox. Tell us, why do you think Krillin and 18 are the greatest couple in Dragon Ball?
It's mainly just the development of their relationship as a whole. Like, that's believable. You gotta think, she started off like liking him in general because she didn't kill him when they were on that roadway.
Yeah.
Him sparing her life, just kind of the build up to their relationship in the Buu saga where you actually realize that they got married. They genuinely do care for each other. Even when Gohan punches the crap out of Cell and he ends up vomiting her up, the one to react the most was Krillin because he was like, wait, like, that's Android 18. Like, she was alive in him all that time. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where, like, he cared. Even when they tried to get rid of her, at the end of that, he was like, no. Like, he was the one that was going to defend that. So it's one of those things where, like, they stuck by each other. And although she could be harsh on Krillin, because Android 18 is probably his biggest critic ever within the show, the thing about it is that they push each other to do better. She's a little bit heavy-handed with it, but she definitely cares for her husband. You can't mess with Krillin. She can mess with Krillin. You can't mess with Krillin. Mm. You know, and that's, you know, and it's vice versa. You know, one of the biggest things that's always really cool is that when Buu was on the Kami's lookout, the very first thing Krillin did, Krillin knew he didn't stand a chance at fighting him, but he wanted to give 18 and Marin a fighting chance at getting away. And that's something where it's like, you can see they didn't even have to say it. He just looked at her and she already knew what to do. And that just shows the years of like their bonding, the connection that they have. They read each other. And that's why I voted them as number 1. They feel like a complete couple who's been through some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said, Lennox. Very well said. Kat, let's move on to you. What's your thoughts on Krillin in 18?
So I love Krillin in 18. And for all of the reasons, you know, that Lennox said, one of the reasons that I love them is because at first for Krillin, it's very clear that he only cares about 18 because she looks good, right? Like Krillin, who's been wanting a girlfriend since early Dragon Ball, who's seen Goku get married. He's seen Yamcha have Bulma. You know, he just wants a shot. And here comes this robot and she looks good. I also think that Krillin over time, you know, especially hearing from Trunks about how awful these androids are, seeing that this 18 is a little bit different, a little bit more humane. Also, they have a common enemy, which is Cell. You know, I think that probably took the threat off of her as much. You know, she's not exactly killing everybody. And I like for 18 because 18 didn't want to like Krillin. Like, I do agree with you, Lennox. She did, like, you know, kiss him right before when they were on the highway, right before they all got their behinds beat to them by by the android. I do like that 18 is reluctant to like Krillin, which to me shows, and this is why I like them so much, it's that blank period of, that they really got to know each other. 18 wasn't exactly like, let me go ahead and get on Krillin because he's on me. She had to come back, and she had to keep coming back. So there was something there that she probably was like, oh, here's this guy who's, Krillin isn't conventionally attractive, I guess, in the Dragon Ball world. He's short. He's really strong. He's got these cigarette burns on his forehead. I'm sure a lot of ladies are just kind of like, whatever. There's just Krillin. And here comes 18 coming back to say, oh, this guy is actually interesting. She's giving Krillin a chance. For Krillin, he's like, oh, I can strike it gold. Bulma never gave me a shot, so this is great. So, and I do like their bond, especially, in Super. I really love to see how far they've come when they fight together. Oh, that episode where they fought together. That was so cute. I just really enjoyed them together. I love that. Like Lennox was saying, that's time built up. You realize they had to talk to each other. They're best friends. They can talk to each other. For some reason, 18 thinks Krillin is really cool. Like in Super, when he flies off and she's just staring at him, she's like, kawaii.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So she's like, she worships the ground this guy walks on. And it's because over time she realized that Krillin is really wholesome. He's a great guy. He's willing to die for his friends. He has died for his friends. He'll keep dying for his friends. She recognizes all of these things about him. She gives him the shot. She makes Krillin go from the underdog to, a guy who can hold his own. And I really like what they do for each other. So I'm team K-teen all the way.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I'll go next on this one. One of the biggest reasons I put this one over Goku and Chichi is because Krillin and 18 both have the understanding of family values. Someone told me their problem with 18 was basically that she seems too money hungry. But when you look at the actual series, every time she wants money, it's to provide for her family. She entered the tournament because she wanted more money to help provide. Listen, if you live with your spouse and your, 2-year-old daughter with a 300-plus-year-old perverted man in that small house, I'm pretty sure you want to get out of there too, right? So I can't blame 18 for wanting to have the money to provide, which it looks like they were able to eventually provide for their own selves in Dragon Ball Super. And then in Krillin, doing the police job, wanting to basically provide for his family. There's that unity. They really both want the best for Marin, and that's what I really love. And I've also got to give a shout out to Geekdom 101, one of the most knowledgeable Dragon Ball fans on the planet. He talked a lot about the relationship between Krillin and 18 and what it means to show that it goes so much deeper than looks at times, basically, because everyone has a preference when it comes to who they're attracted to, which is one of the reasons I really like Team 4-Star's take on the 18 kissing Krillin scene, where I think 18 calls society's definition of beauty BS or something. So definitely shout out to TFS writers Kaiser Neko, Lenny Patur, and Takahata 101, because it definitely adds to my point about how some people are going to look at Krillin like, oh, he's a short guy, and then you have 18 like, oh, they're going to think, well, there's no way she's going to want anything to do with this short guy with the way they look. But it's not about that. It's so much more. Krillin and 18 had this emotional connection, and I really love that Toriyama put that together, and you see this put to the test in Dragon Ball Super in the Tournament of Power, at least in the anime version, where Ribrianne was basically, she talked all this whole time about love this, love that, and when she found out Krillin was 18, she's like, he's ugly, why would you marry that? And 18 lit her up, did that awesome tribute to when Goku killed King Piccolo, basically with the fists and everything, and blowing her up and everything, and it made a huge impact, because from that moment she said, I guess, love goes far deeper than basically what you can see with your eyes, which is one of the biggest things I think Toriyama has done with this relationship. So I really do like that dynamic between Krillin and 18. Linux did make a good point. I personally am not a fan, and I know they do it a lot in like the Funimation where 18 calls him a wimp, and even in the anime mostly and stuff. I'm not a really big fan of that, but at the same time I do also see the other flip side part of that, where basically it's what pushes him. Like there is a part in Super where they did something with the writing where he got hit by a bullet. Since when? Launch has been shooting Krillin in the face with a machine gun for how long? So what has gone on with Krillin in Dragon Ball Super? The fact that he is down, he's getting hurt by bullets and stuff. But at the end of the day, when you get past that, I do think 18 is there for him and loves him and pushes him. And like you said, Lennox, she's not going to let anybody, you know, talk down on Krillin. She might do it, but she's not going to let anybody come down there and talk about it. And I just think it's really good. And it's a great story for Krillin, especially if you go anime only with Marin. When he gave up Marilyn, the one with the blue hair during the Garlic Jr. saga, which I know is forbidden, right? Fun times. I just gotta say it, Garlic Jr. saga. Whoever forgets the classic line, "Come the big daddy garlic."
See, I thought about that in my head. I wasn't going to say it, but I thought it.
That line always cracks me up. But the thing is, in that arc, Krillin thought that Marin was too good for him. And when he ended up letting her go, she was going to say, you know, I would have said yes. And then when Krillin was like, oh, she would have, she just gets in with another guy and just hops off, which is a good sign that Krillin should have never got with her and everything. But then later on, he meets 18 and things are a lot more better and it works out for him. And Kat, you're right. They took the time to know each other. So that's why I agree that they are definitely a better couple, just slightly over Goku and Chi-Chi from a family standpoint. All right, Rebecca, go ahead and finish us off.
Wait, did you say just slightly?
Yeah, because
like
I said in my opinion, because as I mentioned earlier, when you see Chi-Chi yelling at Goku, it's for a pretty good reason, whereas in the anime version, it seems there's times that 18 makes these straight up mean comments towards Krillin. I'll use a couple examples in the anime version of Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power arc between episodes 99 and 100. So 18 lets her guard down and is nearly eliminated, but Krillin ends up saving her and decides to poke a little fun at her by pointing out her mistakes, because as we see earlier in episodes of Dragon Ball Super, 18 has no problem pointing out Krillin's mistakes, but 18, she ends up getting annoyed by this and tells him not to laugh. Even the Elder Kaioshin is like, oh, that could have been a really touching moment, but moments later when Krillin lets his guard down and is eliminated, everybody verbally craps all over the guy, and 18, being his wife, who you think would have his back the most, makes the comment, and you call yourself my husband, which just makes Krillin feel like total crap. So it just comes off to me in that moment that 18 doesn't like Krillin calling her out on her mistakes, but it's okay for her to call him out on his mistakes. Then my second example once again comes from an anime only scenario during the end of Dragon Ball Z, where during the Tenkaichi Budokai, aka World Martial Arts Tournament, where 18 asks Krillin, why didn't you enter the Tenkaichi Budokai, which he responds by saying that he doesn't stand a chance against Goku, Vegeta, etc. And honestly, when you think about how Dragon Ball Super takes place before the ending of Dragon Ball Z, who knows how strong these guys are within the tournament? We're talking about a post-moral arc, Goku, Vegeta, Goten, Trunks, Fat Majin Buu, Pan, and a reincarnated Kid Buu in the form of Oob. Yeah, Krillin ain't getting none of that prize money. So 18's response to justify her question is that she won the tournament 10 years prior, but gave the victory to Mark Satan, and Krillin is quick to point out how in that tournament, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, etc. all forfeit due to the whole Majin Buu fiasco. And if we're honest here, we know 18 even back then had no chance against a slacking Gohan. 18's only response to this is to tell her husband he has no nerves or guts, once again leaving Krillin feeling like utter crap and leaving me as a viewer at the time wondering why didn't she just enter the tournament herself, given how much stronger she is than Krillin, if she was that confident that the prize money would be that easy. So yeah, it's just those little things, but once again, these are examples that aren't present in their manga counterparts, so it's most likely just the writing staff at Toei who wants to add this unnecessary element to their relationships, as these moments contradict what 18 and us the audience know about Krillin, that while scared, when push comes to shove, he goes down swinging for his family and friends. That's why in the anime I say they are slightly above Goku and Chi-Chi, because at least there's a much stronger sense of family values between both Krillin and 18, plus neither will abandon one another, unlike Goku at the end of the series. However, on the flip side, Goku and Chi-Chi sure don't talk to one another the way Lazui does to Krillin. But if we're talking strictly what I can see that Toriyama himself has written, then I agree, way better couple than Goku and Chi-Chi. But go ahead, Rebecca, let us know what you thought on this couple.
I mean, I feel like there's nothing I can say that you guys haven't said already. I definitely agree with what you're saying in terms of like, I like that in the beginning, it wasn't, yeah, there was like an immediate attraction because, oh, wow, she's pretty. But it wasn't, she wasn't just like, you like me, I like you now. It was like a slow burn, you know, like they slowly started to get to know each other and all this stuff. And then at one point you see it clearly. And that's what I was thinking of before you mentioned it, where like she watches him fly off and she's like, he's so cool. Like she said in the English, like, oh, he's so cool. So for me, you clearly see that admiration with each other. And even in just the little things like, oh, they were going to Bulma's birthday. I think it was. And they were in the car and it was like traffic and they're like, well, like, you know, come on, like time to go. So they just like turned the car into a capsule and they flew off. It just like as a family, it was just like, I don't know, these cute little moments together, which again, if I have to keep comparing it, I think of like Goku and Chichi and Gohan. There wasn't really like a family dynamic. It was like Goku is the father of Gohan and Chichi is the father, but it wasn't like a whole like tight-knit family. Whereas even like I said, even in the little moments with Android 18 and Krillin, you still see like these cute little like family type like fluff pretty much. So when you see it, you're like, oh, that's so cute. So yeah, like I said, I agree with what you guys are saying. I like that it was like a slow fade into love, and there's clearly like admiration there. So I like that.
For sure, and I'll just add one more thing too, is I really liked in the Super Boo part when they were on the lookout and everything, how even though 18's far stronger than Krillin, he cared more about the safety of them and having her lead the family and friends out while Krillin takes on Super Boo knowing he didn't have a chance. One of the most heartbreaking moments I ever saw in Dragon Ball. Oh man, that scarred me all day seeing Super Boo kill them. The poor Marilyn 18 like that and the whole family and friends. But we're gonna move on to number 2. So yeah, they barely got it out here. But thanks to the help of people on social media, number 2 came in as Son Gohan and Videl. I'm gonna kick us off here because they are, to me, my favorite couple. They are the greatest couple in Dragon Ball history, and here's why. All of these different relationships we can talk about, there's this or there's that aspect of here and everything, but with Gohan and Videl, I think it's the best romance Toriyama's ever written. And if anybody knows or heard the interviews, Toriyama says himself that he's not good at romance, but I mean, what can you say about this relationship? I mean, think about Videl was so, like, you know, really pushy and everything, and borderline, didn't even respect Gohan, that he wanted to keep his secret safe. She blackmailed him into the tournament early on, but you see as she became more and more in love with Gohan, she changed into like just the sweetest person. And that's what I really like about Gohan and Videl's whole relationship, is not just that they're sweet, but they really have each other's backs. I talked about earlier is that Gohan definitely exceeded his parents. You know, you think about Chi-Chi being this overbearing mother. I don't see Gohan being that way with Pan. Case in point, just look at the end of Dragon Ball Z. He's letting Pan be free and train with her grandfather. When we see Gohan at that age, Bulma's asking, what do you want to be? A scholar, because my mom says I want to be a scholar or whatever. So it's like Gohan gives her more freedom, and even though it's not a part of the official continuity in Dragon Ball GT, it looked like even Gohan still let his daughter be free and everything and stuff like that. And then when you look at Videl, you know, I do miss what Videl was. She was such an awesome character from a fighting standpoint. Even though she got the crap beat out of her by Spokovich, she kept going ahead fighting and stuff. So it would have been nice to see that that dynamic continue with Videl. But like I said, she became this sweet person. Some of the episodes in Dragon Ball Super I thought really added to this is when I believe Mr. Satan and Gohan are being reckless with Pan, and Chi-Chi ends up going ahead and taking Pan away from them, and then Mr. Satan and Chi-Chi end up getting into this back and forth about what Pan's gonna be like, I guess how she would be raised or something, and it eventually ends up to where Pan and Videl are locked in a room with Chi-Chi and eventually Bulma, and they both are asking her, well, what do you want Pan to be? And Videl's like, hey, I appreciate it. You know, she appreciates the advice that she's getting from her family and friends, but she's like, you know, hey, she wants Pan to grow up the way she wants to, you know, as opposed to what her parents or even the grandparents here would want her to be. And I love that because they both want to take on this new responsibility as parents together. They know there's going to be ups and downs, but the main thing is they want to do it together. And I love that aspect. Another great episode that I thought they did in Dragon Ball Super is when the guy tries to set up Gohan and have the actress kiss him, and then he takes a photo and says basically, oh, look at this, basically your husband is cheating, which was very out of this world for Dragon Ball. I'm like, wow, I've never thought I see a cheating storyline in Dragon Ball, right? But you bring that in there, and when he sends it to Videl, I already imagine most of the times like, uh-oh, this is it for Gohan. And the first thing Videl does, she gets in that guy's face, basically rips up the photo, and she tells him like, oh no, she knows her husband. She know that if there's a reason he's in the photo, it must be a good reason. Like, who are you to be coming here messing with people's marriages and all that stuff and everything? And you know, I feel like us as the audience were with Videl because we know Gohan, the type of person he is. He can be naive at some points like his father, but we know his heart is completely pure. He's pure of heart, and Videl knows that, and that is the strong love that she has for Gohan. Shout out again to Geekdom 101 when he reviewed that episode. He was like, yo, Videl's a good woman, yo. She knows her husband and everything, and I just thought that was amazing, the strength that they have, and it lines up to the end of DBZ when we see him with Videl and Pan, and I know Gohan and Videl as characters, they've gone downhill compared to where they were in the Buu saga. Oh, and speaking of the Buu saga, I know, even though it's only filler and only in the movies, I think one of the cutest things I've seen in Dragon Ball has to be the whole Great Saiyaman, Saiyawoman duel thing, because at the beginning of the Buu saga, Videl thought it was absolutely lame that Gohan was doing this gimmick, but then she falls so much in love with Gohan that by the end of the saga, she's now doing that very same lame gimmick with him. I just thought it was adorable, showing just how much love can affect a person. But when you look at them as a couple, I mean, Gohan, he ended up going ahead, becoming a scholar. He's got himself a nice house. Him and Videl are a happy couple. They're raising their own daughter. They want the responsibility of raising their own. Truly, to me, Gohan really exceeded his parents in that aspect, and whatever they're lacking fighting, he more than makes up for it in life, and that's why they are the greatest couple to me in Dragon Ball. I will go on here. Let's start, you start off, Rebecca, because I remember you said they were a vanilla type couple.
Well, yeah, that's what I was.
Wow.
When he first asked me, well, hold on. Well, let me explain. Yeah. So when he first asked me, because he's like, oh, who's gonna be your number one? Like, I kind of have an idea, and I'm like, if this was real life, like, I get it. Like, looking at Videl and Gohan, they have like a steady relationship. They met in high school sweethearts, and, you know, like, they supported each other in everything they did. They had a kid together. And then, like he mentioned before, when that guy's like, oh, look, Gohan's cheating. Like, what are you going to do about it? She was just like, no, like she had full confidence in him, like, and together as in a relationship, like, that obviously you need this, like, the strong connection. You need to communicate well, and I feel like they have that. And then again, like he said, I just feel like I couldn't pick them as my number one because they're just it's so vanilla. Like, when I see them together, I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's really good. Wow. They have a daughter. Wow. But I'm not like, oh, cool, dude. Like, it doesn't do it for me, you know? So they're a very good couple together. But as I mentioned, I feel like they're a little bit vanilla. There you go. I said it.
Kat, what do you
Kat, what do you think?
So actually, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, they are a vanilla couple. That's the greatest terminology, but that is why I love them. One thing about Gohan and Videl is they are, in comparison to like all the other couples, they have the cutest story, right? Like, they're just together. They love each other. I really love the line when they kind of separate when Gohan's flying and she's like, when you come back, let's date and stuff. You know, and she's finally like giving it in to him. Like, everything that they do is really cute. You can tell even after they get married, they still really love each other in that really cute, wholesome way. You know, they, especially in those like filler episodes in Super, when, like you were saying, that that girl was trying to push up on Gohan and Videl was like, oh no, my man is good. I love that. I love that there's no one else for Videl but Gohan. There's no one else for Gohan but Videl. Like, it's just no one else is going to work. I do hate that they didn't keep fighting together. Like, I do hate that they kind of made Videl just become this like laid back. Oh, okay. I'm gonna hold on. I do hate that they made like Videl this laid back kind of like housewife where she didn't have that same spunk until those filler episodes. You kind of see that spunk again. I liked that spunk. Gohan, for me, is the good parts of Chi-Chi and Goku, right? Like, he's naive, which makes him adorable. You know, he's not so into everything that just a small bit of obliviousness. You just need just a little bit where you're not so in tune with everything. And that's Gohan. And then he's nurturing, like Chi-Chi. He has all of their good parts. From the time he's a little kid up until he's a teenager, all the things that we loved about Gohan, he just keeps building and building. And Videl recognizes this, and vice versa. You know, he's not treating Videl like this great person because she's the daughter of Mr. Satan, because he knows the truth. So that gives her, I think, this opportunity to just kind of let everything just die down. She doesn't need to be this power-hungry go-getter. She can just be Videl. She recognizes that Gohan is stronger, so she admires him. They have all the qualities that make you a good couple together. Mm-hmm. If my number one wasn't my number one, they would be my number one.
Me too.
They're really cute. Like, especially, you kind of wonder for Toriyama to say, oh, I can't write romance. And then he writes Gohan and Videl. It's like, you definitely can write romance. You could have did a little bit better in a lot of other areas because these are great, especially for shonen. It's sweet. There's no angst. There's no bad. It's just they work together. They get together. They stay together. The worst part about their relationship is GT Pan for me because I don't know what happened there. I don't know what's going on.
I get that.
Yeah, but I love them. I do. I really love them.
Yeah, like I said, if this was real life, perfect couple.
Perfect couple.
Yeah, perfect couple. Totally.
That's why
a lot of I'll let you go Lennox.
Yeah,
a lot of
Lennox.
people probably don't know what happened when it came to Dragon Ball GT and the stuff, but
you don't want to.
I still like it by itself, just not compared to Dragon Ball Z. But one thing I also forgot to mention about Gohan and Videl, I think the way Toriyama did Gohan, the reveal of Pan being born, and how it tied into the Super Saiyan God and everything, one of the most beautiful moments in all of Dragon Ball history. Gohan's immediate reaction to Videl, knowing like we're gonna have a baby, oh my gosh, I love this
really
couple so
cute.
much. All right, I saved you for the main event of this topic because Lennox cannot stand Gohan. Lennox hates Gohan. He
I still hate the character.
So I
hate the character.
I can't.
But did
wait
you
to
hate him
hear-
in Cell Games?
I hate him, period. Like,
Really? I love him in
I
Cell
hate
Games.
Gohan.
I had a crush on him. Oh my gosh. He was adorable.
You
No.
guys listen to one of our
I've
Dragon Ball
never-
Super reviews. It's he goes in his whole rant, but yeah, as long as
He's
I'm
sitting there seething. Look at him.
Oh yeah, I was looking as we were all three talking. I was looking over to my other screen where Lennox is, and he's just like.
So I can't wait to get this out.
Yeah,
I've
yes,
never heard
so-
anyone say they don't like Gohan. Like,
Or at least
I
there's
mean,
certain
now he's
parts of
lame.
Gohan,
He's lame, I
but,
get it,
Yeah, there
but-
are certain parts of Gohan, but yeah, Lennox.
Right.
For as long as I've known him, he's never liked Gohan. So I'm very interested to hear you buried the character so much. Are you gonna bury his relationship? Do you respect him as a husband, as a family man? Let's hear it, Lennox.
it goes back to kind of what it goes back to what she said. It goes back to what Becca said. If this was like real, no, even if it wasn't real life, like their relationship is so like overly romanticized. Like it's the perfect relationship, and I think that's why I don't like it. It's because it's like the lack of angst, the lack of the complexity of getting over trials. You know, you're not going to always see eye to eye in a real relationship. And I hate the fact that they do. It's like they're never angry at each other. Ever. Like, they're never angry. There's never a problem. They're always in unison. It's like this isn't real. And it kind of goes back to one of the reasons why I don't like Gohan. It's because everything about him just seems convenient. And this is one of those things where like this relationship is almost too good to be true. It's not real. You know what I mean? It's cute. I get why people would like it, but I personally, for what I look for as far as characters and development, it's just too good to be true. It's way too good to be true. That's why it ended up as number 3 on my list, because like I just can't see it. Like, that's not real. Hatred for Gohan aside, because I think he's a pansy, but like, you know, it's just the complexity of the relationship is so. I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe it. It's like Brady Bunch. Like the mom and dad always get along. Like that's what it reminds me of, and it's so staged that I just cannot get behind that type of relationship. That's all it is.
I can see that.
I will say though, they did mention in Oz they will have ups and downs, but it's just part of those. It's just we don't see those moments. I think that's the big thing. Yeah, those moments you're talking about are played out on screen for us all the time with the other couples, but for them it's never. But see, another thing too is remember Toriyama's writing. I think he just takes a simple approach to Gohan and Videl. That's the thing. Like the other ones, he's probably tried to be more complex with them. That's what I think. That's just Toriyama as a writer, right?
But that's the problem though. Like, I mean, I get you want to show kind of like the best of it. Like with Goku and Chichi, he showed the worst. With Gohan and Videl, he kind of shows the best. With Krillin and 18, you kind of get to see the end of a long journey. And then with the other couple in discussion, you get to see it come to fruition from start to finish. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? So he took different writing directions with it. It's just that me personally, I'm not a fan of the happy, like the overly happy ending. You know, I just
I've always
can't do
known
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it. Well, because it's not real. Like, it just seems so fake and so staged to me. Like, I just cannot get invested in that.
But hey, great opinions, everyone. I'm pretty sure Toriyama's, well, a lot of people feel Toriyama's doing that already with Gohan, but you've probably taken a lot of Gohan's fans' hearts right out right now, I assume. But
don't worry. Got many more. Many more.
But great takes.
I mean, that could be a whole nother video.
Oh, absolutely. All right, let's get to our final couple. Once again, I told everyone before we started recording, it was never in doubt to me who numbers 4 and 1 were gonna be. All right, so let's get to number 1. Obviously, you would know it now. It is Vegeta and Bulma. So let's go ahead and hear it. Rebecca, start us off here. Why do you feel Vegeta and Bulma is the greatest couple in Dragon Ball?
Dude, okay. Well, again, I get that as a real life couple, there's definitely problems, especially how they first started out. Where it's like, oh, is this Yamcha's son? No, it's just one guy. You know, I banged him, and kind of like, you know. So now you have a child together. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, though. They weren't married, right?
No, not really.
No. Okay, not in their. So they weren't married, and then
yeah, I don't think they got married until probably the
like
7-year time skip. Yeah, the 7-year time skip, because I think that's when she started referring to Vegeta as her husband.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So okay, so they had a rocky start, of course, and then for a while, you're sort of wondering like, does he even care? Does Vegeta have feelings for these people? Like, does he even? And then, I mean, obviously, I'm a big Vegeta fan anyway, so I'm always rooting for whatever is going on in his life. But when it was with that, I feel like, I don't know. I'm trying to think when I first feel like I saw like a good dynamic with him and Bulma. But I know at least him as a father, like when Trunks was shot during the Cell games, like the way Vegeta was just like, that's my son. And like suddenly you see, oh, Vegeta, like he's this warrior, but he has this heart in him that he doesn't really show people, you know? And so you first start seeing it then. And then, of course, I mean, I know I'm skipping way ahead, but the whole like, that's my Bulma, like the whole thing, like that was epic. And of course you can see how much he cared for her, and then you hear it a lot. And of course I love all the fluff in Super, like when she kisses his cheek and he's like, oh, what are you doing? Like these cute little moments between them, you know? And especially like when I forget what was that patroller like alien guy where she was gonna leave with him, and then Vegeta's like, hey. Yeah, he's like, you better not try anything funny with my wife.
Oh yeah,
like,
Jocko.
You better, yeah, you know. And then when they fly away, he's like, oh, well, you know, I don't hate that about her, you know, that she's kind of like feisty, you know, like. So I feel like Vegeta still lets loose with some moments, you know, and just again their dynamic. And I think I can't remember exactly where he explained it, but he was like Bulma's. Her strength is different. Like she builds armor for me and she protects me, and that's why I don't mind that she's my woman. I don't remember exactly where.
I think he was talking to Wiz.
Wizzy? Okay.
Yeah.
Wizzy.
Oh yeah, I think it's that moment when they were talking about Chichi and Bulma both being there because the Saiyans are such strong-willed people, or Saiyans as well. Bulma, it takes strong-willed women as well to be there, and that's what they were comparing Bulma and Chichi to. I know that. I think that's the scene.
Oh, there was a strong-willed, but there was another time where I feel like Vegeta was about to fight or something was about to happen. He was like, "Well, that's why I don't mind that she's my woman." Like it was like almost like this epic moment. I can't remember. I don't even know. Did I make it up? I'm pretty sure it happened.
I'm like, we get it. That's how he feels.
Yeah, but you know what
yeah, that's how he feels. We get it.
So yeah, so for me, I really liked it, and it's like little funny things that Vegeta, like in Dragon Ball Z, he made this promise to Trunks, like, oh, if you could hit me, like we'll go to the park for an hour, you know, and then
greatest scene.
Yeah, and then in Dragon Ball Super he's like
bargain cell.
Yeah, so then in Dragon Ball Super when he's like, okay, like, we have to go because I made this promise. And he's sort of like I was cracking up when they were like, the family was on one of those like tiny little choo-choo trains, and Vegeta's sitting there like kind of like mad, you know, but he's still there. So I feel like he has this big heart and he kind of hides it. And then of course, how could I forget him as a father? Like when Goku's like, come on, let's go training. And he's like, don't you see Bulma? She's about to give birth. And he's like, so what? Like, why do you have to be here? She's giving birth, right? Like, you don't have to be there. So I feel like Vegeta had a good head on his shoulders, like as a father. And of course, yeah, like he'll show his little moments where he really cares for Bulma, and just best couple ever, guys. Okay, back me up.
Yes,
Well,
100%.
let me go. I'll go and Linux wants to be tagged in. All right, yeah, go ahead, Linux. You're the Vegeta fan. Yeah, Linux, you're the big Vegeta fanboy. I'm surprised this did not make your number one, but go ahead, let's hear it. Me and you actually agreed to them being at number 2. Let's go ahead and hear it.
Wow.
The only reason, literally the only reason why they didn't make my number 1 is because I feel that relationship is still playing out. Once again, we've seen the entire timeline from when he first hits Earth till currently in Super, him and his interactions with Bulma. I even think on Namek, when he had the opportunity to kill her, he didn't. In the cave, he literally had the opportunity to just end Bulma right there, but he didn't. But one of the biggest things, and she just said it, and this is why it goes back to kind of, you can tell who cares for who. Vegeta got a whole Zenkai boost when Beerus hit Bulma. It wasn't one of those like, oh, I'm angry because you hit her. He's like, how dare you? Like, I don't care if you're God of Destruction, if you're God. They could have been Xeno. He literally would have thrown hands with whoever touched Bulma. And like, that just shows the difference in the level of care he has. One of the things, like I think it's because she challenges him too. We get to see that other aspect of Vegeta. Like, he's always been a prideful type of character. He doesn't like to be proven wrong. He always thinks he's right. He's pretty headstrong. And the fact that somebody like Bulma who challenges him, but not only challenges him, but makes him listen, the fact that we even get to see that means that there is some type of care, there's some type of attention that he always allots to her. And it's just nice to see that relationship kind of, you know, develop. Even one of the things that, and I always kind of get a little choked up whenever I see it, when he does the final explosion on Boo and they tell Bulma what happened, she's broken. Like, it wasn't like Chi-Chi when Gohan was banged up and she was crying and she kind of recovered. Bulma wasn't moving. Like, she was done for a minute. She was broken. And that lets you know the level that their relationship, like, where it was at, without it being specifically shown. We didn't see all the good times, you know what I mean? But that just shows you, even just from the little moments we got, like, oh yeah, they really like each other. And then you realize, like, oh no, they really loved each other. And it's in moments like those where, you know, when Vegeta sacrificed himself and she broke down on Kami's tower, when he literally manhandled Beerus for a couple seconds because he was, you know, pissed off at the fact that Beerus actually had the audacity to touch his wife. You see that type of emotion, and it's that raw emotion that's built up from all of their trials, you know, from, you know, the little annoyances that she would give him when he first, when he got back to Earth after Namek, you know, and they were arguing over, you know, the armor and the clothes and the pink shirt, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah, like, you know, it's all of that you get to see in those moments, and that's why this couple is a really, really strong couple. And I just can't wait to see where it ends. That's the only reason why I didn't make my number 1. Like, I feel like with Krillin in 18, we've seen the end of the journey, and we're just kind of coasting with it right now. Vegeta and Bulma is still developing, and that's kind of the fun part.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and continue on for here. What I'm going to say is Dragon Ball Super really is what I feel helps this relationship and makes it rank very high for me. Because if we only had just DBZ to go off of, let's be honest, Vegeta was a jerk. Like, I talked about Goku being selfish, but he's a man-child. He kind of doesn't, he should know better, but he kind of doesn't. Whereas Vegeta was just, he did not care at all in Dragon Ball Z. If you go to that Cell saga, when Trunks asked him, why didn't you save Bulma and your son? And Vegeta responds, those Jinko Nikan are my only concern. And it wasn't until you get to the Trunks death from Cell that Vegeta starts to finally change. And I love that going back into the fight with Goku the second time around, when he goes like, you know, he was the perfect warrior, cold and ruthless. He lived by his strength alone, uninhibited by foolish emotion. But then, slowly over the years, I became one of you. And what's his last thing he told Goku? Says, settle down, formed a family. I even grew quite fond of them. And that 7-year time skip is so important because remember, after Goku died, he said he lost the will to fight, which he obviously did fight, but man, it's like with Goku out of the way, you know, he really started focusing on Bulma and Trunks, and obviously when you look at the way they react to him, even before the whole Bobbity taking over him, they love, just like Linux was mentioning, you could tell Bulma loved him, and she was going through mixed emotions. Do I bring Vegeta back because, you know, this is the person that's become her husband over the 7 years, or does she not bring him back because he just did what, like double genocide on a massive amount of people? And I just thought that was some of the greatest emotion, and Linux has pointed out to me several times and many others, Toriyama, when it comes to Toriyama, Vegeta really is the greatest character development you've ever seen. And you start to see towards the end of the Buu saga when, you know, when he's like, what was it, Elder Kai, he's like, so Goku bribing me with boobies? Kakarot, this woman didn't happen to be Bulma. Well, Vegeta, this idiot! There's no way that little Jesus is putting his tips on my Bulma! That was our first taste at that. And you see at the end of DBZ, he's there with Bulma, his new daughter Bra, Trunks. Talk about having your whole family named after underwear, right? You gotta love that Toriyama puns. It is told to us towards the end of Z that, okay, Vegeta became a better person, but we never got to see it. That's what makes one of the best things in Dragon Ball Super so great, is Vegeta's character development. How poetic is it that in Dragon Ball Super, the beginning against Beerus during Battle of Gods, that Vegeta, all these years of training is not what makes him surpass Goku. But when the God of Destruction himself hits his wife, he becomes even stronger. While I don't agree with the logic of the SSJ form overpowering SSJ3, I thought that was really powerful. That is what made Vegeta in that moment stronger than Goku. Not his will to surpass his rival, but the will to protect his wife. That was so powerful for me. I really love that. And a lot too that I like in Super is you see Vegeta wants to make up for what he did with Trunks. Think about that, and Rebecca brought it up. Think about Vegeta when he wanted, even with the Tournament of Power, he's like, no, Kakarot, I'm not going. I want to be here for the birth of my daughter. You see, he realized, you know what, I effed up as a father the first time Trunks was born. I don't want to do it again for my second child. And he even took Trunks to the amusement park. He's just so much making up for what he was. And I just think the development, the big thing that separates Vegeta and Bulma versus Goku and Chichi is that Goku, as a family man, did not mature, not that much at least. Vegeta did a lot, and I think that's why it's an easy pickings for Vegeta to be up here. And like Liddy said, there's still more to be developed, and I think from an entertainment standpoint, like Rebecca mentioned, Gohan and Videl are vanilla, but I think when it comes to Vegeta and Bulma, you have arguably one of the most popular characters from the fighter standpoint, and one of the most popular human characters, because Toriyama has kept both these characters relevant, so it's like two of the most charismatic characters coming together, and I think that's why this has become the most popular couple in the whole Dragon Ball fandom. So before we wrap up with Kat, you had something you wanted to say, Linux?
No, you just reminded me, and then it just, like, I just kind of kept replaying it in my head, but Vegeta spends a lot of time with Kid Trunks.
Yes, he does.
Like, it just dawned on me. I was like, holy crap, you do see a lot of clips of them together, which is one of the defining factors that you see amongst, like, all of the other couples, maybe with the exception of Krillin and Marin. But you see him spend, like, even the scene where Trunks makes the bets with him, he was training with his dad, you know, and he literally, you know, was like, Goten ended up having to go with Gohan. You know, Goku wasn't there. I get it. I'll give him a pass. But, you know, he was dead. But you really do see, like, a lot of time being spent with Trunks. And even just for him to have the ultimatum of, all right, if you can hit me, we'll go to the park. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's not something that you just do randomly. I'm pretty sure he's had bets like that with Trunks many a time. Because I think Trunks even says, like, are you serious this time? You know, like, you're not going to, like, bail out like last time. You know what I mean? So, like, that shows that he's done this, you know, on multiple times, either when they were training or out together, where he spent time with Trunks. So that's just one of the things that you see from Vegeta.
Right, yeah, and I go back to that with Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship is the fact that even no matter how many times Goku is gone, they still love him no matter what when he comes around, and I think that's the same thing can be applied to Trunks. Before Vegeta even hugged him once, he thought so highly of his father. You see it all. He's father this. He's like my dad this, my dad that, and that's why I admit so much when he's like, Trunks, I haven't held you once since the day you were born, and he hugs him for the first time. Just man, good stuff. Yeah, so great. We can really tell that. I could tell among this panel that the Vegeta's character development and how it ties into what Bulma has really emotionally affected us all as Dragon Ball fans. Kat, go ahead and finish us off.
Okay, so I have a lot of feelings because I love them so much that I had to get them tattooed on me permanently because I love them.
Nice.
Let me try to get all my feelings. So one of the reasons that I was first attracted to Bulma and Vegeta as a couple was less about what I saw and more about what I didn't see. I think like everyone else, you're like, how the hell did they get together? How? Please explain like how this ruthless killer, because they just immediately go from Vegeta touching down and next thing you know, Bulma has a baby. It's Vegeta's and he's gone in space. So you're like, what happened? But even before that, like how Linux was pointing out, like how he could have killed her on Namek, there were subtle parts where you could see that there was some interest forming. If you take it back to when they first got, forget the ocean dub of you and that hot girl when they're on Namek, but canon, when Vegeta comes back, this is someone who we've seen so far, who's ruthless, doesn't like back talk, right? Nappa could never say what Bulma has said to him when they get down and they touch down back on Earth, where she's like, hey, homeboy, why don't you come stay with me and don't even, think about touching me. If anyone else had said that to Vegeta.
Homeboy.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Homeboy, yeah. Vegeta would have had a lot of issues, but for some reason with Bulma, he lets it slide. And I think it's because Vegeta starts to respect Bulma immediately. Like he says in Super, Saiyans are attracted to a woman who has a lot of, chutzpah, a lot of spunk, and a lot of feistiness. So here's this woman who's clearly hanging out with Saiyans. She's on Namek. She's dealt with Frieza. She's in One Piece. She's not crying on the ground like, oh my God, I just had to fight Frieza. It was terrible. She's having a good time. She's still showing out this banter that's really flirtatious. And then he finds out on top of all of this, she's smart. And not just kind of smart, but she's rich because she's smart, because of her family smarts. This is someone who was with the Galactic Patrol. So he's seen the best of the best. Frieza's not hiring, just your run-of-the-mill scientists. These are really highly educated, respected scientists who are also really awful people. So on planet Earth, Bulma is the equivalent of who Frieza would get to work on his ship. Bulma is someone who probably the Saiyans would say, yeah, come help us out. Come help build things. So Bulma, in a lot of ways, is exactly what Vegeta would respect just on paper. And Bulma looks good. So their dynamic makes a lot more sense than Yamcha and Bulma. If you remember back in early Dragon Ball when Puar did not like Bulma, when he was telling Yamcha, I don't know why you're dating her. She's crazy. She's feisty. But Vegeta can match that. And then if you add into I'm going to think a lot of fan fiction here because a lot of us were fascinated about what happened during, that they got together. Trunks says that they got together out of loneliness, right? So you have Bulma, who's now all her friends are off training for Cell. Yamcha's not around as much. When he was around, he probably wasn't as emotionally involved because he's Yamcha and wants to be flirtatious. And then you have Vegeta, doesn't like anyone here, doesn't really trust anyone here. He's staying in her house. Probably the only person that he does respect is Bulma. They talk a little bit more. They get together a little bit more. Probably Bulma starts to show Vegeta, okay, maybe around this one Earthling, I can kind of let it down until, the hanky-panky happens, and here you go, Trunks. But at this point, Vegeta isn't ready to be a family man. He's not ready to be that. He's still held on to, like, this anger of Goku and wanting to surpass that. So, of course, he's not going to be all willy-nilly like, yeah, that's right, I'll be a family man now. It's like you said during the 7-year itch where he says, I'm not going to fight anymore. He has no choice but to be around his family. He's not awful. He's not a person who does not experience some sort of familial love because King Vegeta clearly loved his son, in the way that Saiyans love their sons. So he knows he has good examples of what it means to be a good parent, So I think that time where they could really build together and become this family man so you can get to the point where I think the subtle cue of, if you take it to where he's being controlled by a Babidi and they're at the tournament, when Vegeta kills all those people, the person who's most surprised is Bulma. We as the audience aren't surprised because we're like, oh, well, we knew that Vegeta's a douche. But Bulma is like, oh my God, how can he do that? How else would someone have that reaction unless you've seen someone change, or you've seen someone become like better over time and become this person that's completely different than the Saiyan saga. And like you said, Lennox, I don't think that their story is done. I do love what Super did for them, those really small moments. You know, even something very subtle is, if you take whose birthday party was it? I can't remember, where they had Beerus trying to pretend he was, what's the nipple guy's name? Monaka?
Monaka.
Yeah, Monaka. When during that,
wasn't it Marin's? Was it Marin's or Brawl's?
It might have. It was someone's birthday, but there's this small scene that's really poorly drawn where Vegeta is like protecting Bulma. He has her about the middle and he's kind of like holding her away. Little small things like that makes you realize that he's really attached to Bulma. He's not just Trunks. She doesn't just become like, oh, the mother of my child. She's probably his best friend. She's probably, you know, the person that he respects the most on this planet. She's, once again, she's Bulma. She looks good, you know? Like, and even in the Broly movie, I love when she's saying, oh, I want to be 5 years younger. And Vegeta makes his face like, you look fine the way you are, you know? Those little things like that, that's why they're my favorite couple, because the characterization and the character development for Vegeta, everything actually can be attributed to his family. It's not because of Krillin. It's not because of Goku. The only factors why Vegeta became a better person over time was Bulma and Trunks. They get all the credit, in my opinion. Because,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, that's fantastic. The two people, this girl with a nasty attitude that couldn't make it happen with Yamcha, that we've seen, you know, constantly butting heads, changed the biggest villain that we've seen, aside from like Frieza and Cell, like one of the biggest villains that we've seen so far. She changed him just by having his baby and being around and probably not taking his bull crap. That's what, and he listens to her. Anyone else can't say the things that Bulma says to Vegeta, even in Super, when he's late to her birthday party and she screams at him on the phone. What's he do? He goes to her birthday party. Yeah, he's like, whatever. He tells Goku at some point, don't even try to argue with Bulma. She's just going to do what she wants. Vegeta, the same dude who, like, when Nappa tried to say something, he's like, are you saying something to me? This 6-foot-tall guy with muscle gave Vegeta an attitude, and Vegeta was getting ready to obliterate him, but Bulma's screaming at him. He's like, guess I'll go satisfy my wife. No big deal. I just can't. I have nothing but good things to say about them. I think, honestly, out of any anime I've seen, they're the most interesting couple because there's not a lot shown. So you're just kind of left with these puzzle pieces to put together, or Easter eggs. If you play like Xenoverse and all the even fighters, they have those moments where you get those little Easter eggs. I think that they're intriguing because you don't see it. And then when you do see it, it just confirms what you thought was happening in the first place. So I love them.
That was beautiful. That whole thing, that was just beautiful.
Very well done. And I'll add on to, I do think Goku had a huge help in developing Vegeta as well, because everybody called him jerks. Goku was always the one person that never let Vegeta really get under his skin. I think Vegeta, Bulma, those two really saw the best, and you had Trunks. They all three saw the absolute best in Vegeta, and eventually, it took a long time, but eventually Vegeta reached the mountaintop finally, and just becoming a better person to what we saw today. It has been an absolute pleasure talking all the four main Dragon Ball couples with you all. I had a lot of fun with this discussion. I hope you all have a lot of great time watching this or even listening to this, and hopefully it takes your mind off of what's going on in the world today. So hopefully we provided a great entertainment for you in this discussion. So this is the part where we will now go on with plugs, and guys, I will have graphics of your plugs in the video as well. So Rebecca, go ahead and promote your social medias.
Well, I mean, there's different social media names, so all you need to know is I'm Rebecca Rose Gold. You can find me on YouTube, and then there'll be links down below, and then, as he said, there'll be an image of it too.
All right, Kat, go ahead and promote your social media.
Hi, so on Instagram and Twitter is probably where I'm most active. I'm Dead Moon, which is spelled kind of strange. It'll be below. Just come check it out for some nerdy art, because that's mainly all I'm doing these days. So.
Lennox, go ahead, promote your social media.
All right, guys. So if you want to keep up with me, The link will be below, but it's at the Linux Virus for both my YouTube and my Twitter. I'm more active on Twitter, promoting fighting game content, as well as you can also see little snippets of what I'm doing in the tournament scenes on chicagotekken.com.
All right, and obviously here on my YouTube, you can get more content like this, as well as be prepared for my upcoming short film Battle Reception, which Linux is actually playing the villain in, and basically you'll see me there. I'm getting a lot of audio work on that done right now, but I do have the trailer up. Also got another one, Goku Fanboy versus Vegeta Fangirl. Vegeta Fangirl being played by Rebecca Rose Gold right there, and obviously I'm the Goku Fanboy, so you can see that coming out. Hey, I'm very glad to know all these talented individuals with your gaming Linux, your voice acting Rebecca, your art cat. So also great to be blessed around you all. Everyone, take care, enjoy.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
And stay, yes, stay
Please wash your
safe.
hands.
20
Stay safe.
seconds. 20
What
seconds.
would Goku do? He'd wash his hands.
I don't know if Goku was the one that
Vegeta would wash his hands.
Vegeta will wash his hands.
And we're out.
Vegeta, wear gloves.